I guess I'll just start at the bottom. Hello there, my name is Paula Jean, and if you're new here, welcome to the Jean May channel, and if you're not new here, then you know that I am embarking on a 3-garment little mini capsule wardrobe, I guess, that is incorporating a stack of green fabrics that I had in my stash. If you missed that video, I will leave it linked up above and down below. You can watch it at your leisure. And I think I have discovered something about myself in this process, and that is the reason I don't usually have a slate of projects that I'm starting all at the same time is because I get overwhelmed pretty easily, and if I'm sewing any more than one garment at a time, then I get paralyzed and I don't know where to start. So I've taken a few days to kind of figure things out, and I think I'm going to start with the sweatpants. The reason I'm starting here is because even though they're the simplest of the garments, they're actually the pattern that I want to make the most changes to. I love the pattern as is. I'm using the Comfy Pant from Pattern Scout, and actually right after that last video, I found some gray fleece in my stash, and I decided that I deserve more than one pair of nice sweatpants. So I went ahead and made them up just as is in that fabric, and I really love them. I've worn them almost every day, every morning since I made them. And as I said in the previous video, they have this lovely just cut-on waistband that is then elasticized, but there's not a whole lot of extra fabric around the waist, so they just lay really nicely. And then they skim over the hips and the bum, not too tight, not too loose, and then the leg is just straight down to the ground. So really simple, and I think it's going to make a perfect template for a sweatpant that I've had in my mind for a while now, and it's sort of a fitted sweatpant. So it will come in a little bit more at the waist so that when I put in the elastic will actually lie flat. And then I want to taper the leg a little bit down to the knee and then have it flare out. So just a gentle flare just to change the silhouette a little bit. I think this is what some people call joggers, as in the crossroads between yoga pants and joggers. I will not be calling them that. I will just be calling them my fitted sweatpants. So I think I'm going to start there, and we'll see where we get to. Okay, so just to give a little overview of what I've done for my adjustments, because my table is white and both of my pattern papers are white, I thought I'd outline the adjustments that I've done on the new pattern piece. So this is what I've done at the waist at the back. So I've taken it in about 1 inch here, about 1/2 inch on the out seam. This is the center back seam. And then at the knee, I've taken it in about 1 inch from the out seam and then about 5/8 of an inch from the inseam. Done the same on the front leg, and then at the front at the waist. I've only taken it in maybe about 1/2 inch here. I think about 1/2 inch on each side. This may be 3/8 of an inch or so, but yeah, so you can see that it's not a huge difference, but I think it's gonna make a huge difference in the silhouette of the pants. Because even though it doesn't look like very much at the waist, that's about 5 inches that I've taken out all the way around, just distributed around all of the seams. So I think that should give me what I am looking for.
For the front pocket facings, I'm using an athletic stretch mesh. It's really lightweight, has great stretch in both directions, is super soft, and it doesn't snag.
So I just finished cutting out my sweatpants and realized that I cut them out in the wrong direction. It's going to be fine. There's plenty of stretch in both directions with this fabric, but I'm just not sure how it happened. I do know that I'm quite tired today, and I did a hard workout this morning, and I probably haven't eaten enough. But I kind of knew when I started that this was maybe not the thing I should be doing today, and I did it anyway. So I think maybe it's time I take a break and have a cup of tea and a snack. All right, so it's a few days later and we had a bit of dryer drama. Long story short, we have a new dryer coming in a few days, but that has affected my momentum. And I had originally thought in my delusions of grandeur that I was going to cut out all the projects and then sew all the projects one right after the other. But I think because my energy's been so low and I deal with fibromyalgia and I've been a bit flary lately, I think I have the sweatpants cut out, so I'm gonna thread my machines and I'm going to do the pants, and then I'm going to cut out the dress and then do the dress and then do the cut out the jacket, then do the jacket. And I think that's going to keep my energy going in a little bit more of a positive direction. There's also a different method of applying the pockets that I want to try on the sweatpants. So I'm going to do a little miniature version of that after I thread my machines. And if that works out, then I think I'm going to implement that into my process. Not gonna lie, kind of love the fact that I'm gonna do 3 projects and not have to change my thread color. I have even wound 2 extra bobbins so that I don't have to worry about playing thread chicken. So here I've got my 2 little miniature pockets, and this is going to stand in for the front leg. And so instead of sewing the one pocket to the right sides together on the front leg and the other to the back leg and then sewing the front and back leg together, I want to try this process that I saw where if this is the front leg of the pant, I'm going to sew the pocket on. I have this line that I have marked here is the 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, and then I've just made a little box that goes a little bit past that and then comes here, and then you flip that over, and then you attach, once that's flipped over, you attach the other side of the pocket to what is now the front pocket facing, and then you have kind of a neat squared off pocket finishing, and then you sew the back leg to it. That's what I'm going to try. Okay, so I've sewn that. I sewed that little half of a box there, and then I trimmed out the seam allowance, and I also snipped to each of these corners. I'm so sorry that this is getting blown out, but that's what the sunshine does. So anyway, I'm going to now flip this over like so, and then you top stitch the finishing of that pocket, and then I'm going to take wow, never shoot in here in the afternoon. And then I'm going to take that, put the 2 pockets right side together and sew the pocket all the way around, and then that becomes the whole front leg piece. And then you just attach the back leg piece, and then the finishing of that will be outside of the stitching line, and then you have a nice little place for your hand to go in there. Okay, so that's all done with the pocket attached. And so I'm going to go ahead and take this other scrap piece and sew it along here. This is going to stand in for the back leg, and then that should give me a nice neat pocket opening there. And here we are. And that's how that pocket opening will look. I quite like that. It's really nice, nice and handsome, I would call that. I think I'm going to do it. right, here is the big girl version. And I just want to show you guys what a difference grading seam allowances can make. So here's my lovely pocket opening that I'm very happy with. And what I've done, because these are going to be fitting me hopefully a little bit closer to the body, I wanted to try to mitigate the kind of lump that might show through on the front of the pocket. So instead of serging, which kind of adds a little bit more bulk, I have just done a double zigzag, and this is probably really hard to see because these are very dark colors, but trust me, there are 2 rows of zigzag stitching there. And then I graded the seam allowance with my duckbill scissors. I graded the fleece back. That's how you want to grade things, with having the longer edge of the seam allowance facing the front. So I've done that on this side. I have not done it on this side, and just hopefully you can see this. When I put my hand here and kind of run over, you can really see the ridge of the 2 fabrics there, because I haven't done any trimming, and so those 2 fabrics are just meeting up there. On this one where I've done the grading, there's still a ridge there obviously, but it's much less apparent. And this might not be super important in terms of, us wear a pair of sweatpants, but if you're making this out of a little bit nicer fabric, if you're making like a nice pair of casual pants and or maybe a thinner fabric, it makes a huge difference to just grade that seam allowance. So really happy with how these are turning out so far. So now I'm just gonna attach the backs and finish these up. Pardon my Daisy Duke action here, but it's the only way to keep my blouse up so I can kind of show you what's happening. So I've put them together, I've got the waistband on, and I've only done the single stitch down because I am going to, when we get our new dryer in a few days, throw these in the wash because it's a knit fabric and I've been pulling it and stretching it, and I know that this elastic shrinks, so right now it's a little bit loose, but I know that this elastic shrinks in the wash, so I just want to put that through, and also I want to make sure that I'm getting the right hem length. But I'm pretty happy with the way that the adjustments fit here. I wanted this to kind of lie flat against my waist, and it is. I know this is a weird angle, but this is the only way I can get a full body shot. Because I had cut it on the cross grain, it means that my pockets, even though they looked really nice lying flat, but they are a little wavy, but I'm hoping also once these are washed and dried that will kind of take care of that. And I'm still really happy with the way the experiment turned out, and hopefully you can see that there. And I'm also really happy with the way that the flare is really subtle. I don't know if it's coming across there on camera, but I can see it and feel it. Just a matter of waiting for the dryer to finish these, and I guess in the meantime I can cut out either the dress or the jacket. I don't know which one. Anyway, one of them. Sacagawea will be the dress. Hiawatha belt will be the jacket. All the lawn equipment in the neighborhood in full effect today. So, and it's heads. Okay, sneaking this shot in my waning hours of daylight as the sun sets, because I don't want to pull out a light. But this is the dress, and I had already made a muslin, so the only thing that I had done was done a little bit of a sway back adjustment here at the back seam. And then because I have this extra little bit of fabric in between the 2 skirt pieces, I decided to try out making the skirt just ever so slightly A-line, and then on both pieces, and just at the hem I went straight across here and then went up an inch at the side and then curved that hemline up a little bit. That just felt like the right thing to do. So I did that on both the front and the back skirt. And with that, we will get maybe a little bit of the sunset. Oh, there it is, a little bit through the curtains. And with that, I'll say goodnight. And good morning. So I got my dress all cut out this morning, and I also cut out the lining for the bodice. I'm using that same athletic stretch mesh fabric that I use for the pocket facings of the pants. The only thing I did differently was I didn't use the bodice lining piece that comes with the pattern because it stops just under the bust line, and it made more sense to me to just use the full front bodice piece for the lining. So I did that there. I also pin basted the skirt part just so that I could see how that's gonna sit. I had already made a muslin of the top, but just to make sure I was on the right track for the skirt. And I'm really liking where it's going so far. I may have to take it in a little bit at the waist, but nothing too major. So I'm excited about that. And then I also did some pre-adjustments on the Nomi 2007. All I did was gave myself 1.5 inches of length in the bodice, and then I took off about 1/2 inch on both the front and the back bodice to just took that off of the underarm seam. That'll make the pattern about 2 inches smaller all the way around, and I think that'll be a good starting point for me. The reason I gave myself a little bit more length is because it seemed like that under bust seam was quite high up under the bust, and I just want to have some room to play there. I also took off 1/4 inch of seam allowance on every single piece. And the reason I did this is because the big 4, big 5 companies, for some reason, they do 5/8 of an inch seam allowances even on their knit patterns. I am so used to indie patterns for knits, and I'm so used to doing 3/8 of an inch seam allowance that I knew that that was going to mess me up somewhere along the way. So I just removed the extra seam allowance on every piece, and now I can go forth and not worry about messing that up. So yeah, that's where I've gotten to, and I think I'm going to wrap up this video right here. I have a little bit more energy back. I feel like I've got some momentum going forward, but I don't want this video to be too long. So in the next one, I will take you through the rest of what I'm just about to embark on, and then we'll see the finished garments and launch them out into the world, which is always the most exciting part. So I just want to say a big thank you to everybody who has subscribed, who has watched my videos. I truly appreciate it. And if you're watching this and you haven't subscribed yet, but you kind of like hanging out with me and my creative endeavors, please hit that subscribe button or give me a like or let me know in the comments. That's great too. So for now, I hope you are having a beautiful day. I hope you are taking good care of yourself and resting when you need to. And I will see you next time.